My name is George and I'm 85 years old. The best part about being 85? I can walk without a single ache or pain. Yes, it's the honest truth. I take a walk every single morning, sometimes even two. I can head down to the corner store for a newspaper. I can climb the stairs in my house without grabbing the railing. And the most incredible thing is I can go out with my grandkids and actually keep up with them. But it wasn't always this way. There were long years when the pain in my knees stole away my desire to do anything. Years when just getting out of bed felt like a huge struggle. Years that ended with me on the couch, legs propped up on ice packs, with one single thought playing over and over in my head: is this what the rest of my life is going to be? Some doctors said it was normal, that it was just part of getting older. They gave me pills, sent me home with creams, and even talked about major surgery. But a voice inside me insisted that I couldn't just accept this. Not yet. There had to be another answer. And that answer, I eventually found it. It was simpler than I could have ever imagined. It was a bit of advice I received when I was at my wit's end. A natural, homemade remedy that began to quiet my pain in just 3 days. And as unbelievable as that may seem, that's when my whole life started to turn around. No, it wasn't a magic trick. It wasn't some miracle cure. It was something anyone can do with ingredients they likely already have in their pantry. But the most important part wasn't just the remedy itself. It was the change it created inside of me. Today, I want to share my journey. Not to impress you or to sell you on anything. I'm telling it because I know there are so many people out there just like me. People who have been in pain for years, who have started to believe there's no way out. People who feel like moving without pain is a long-lost memory. And if you're one of those people, this video is for you. Before we get started, I'd love to hear a little about you. How old are you? And what part of the country are you watching from? Please leave a comment below. I'll enjoy reading your story because at the end of the day, we all have more in common than we think. Now then, let me take you back to how this all started. My issues with knee pain began when I was in my late 60s. At first, it was just a minor thing. A little twinge when I'd stand up, a faint clicking sound on the stairs. It's nothing, I thought. Just part of aging, others said. That's just wear and tear, my friends would tell me. And I believed them. But over time, that minor issue became a constant ache. It wasn't just when I stood up anymore. It hurt when I walked. It hurt when I stood for too long. It even hurt when I was just sitting down. I vividly remember one morning I bent over to pick a sock up off the floor and felt a searing pain, as if my knee had split right in two. A sharp, direct pain that made me gasp. From that day forward, every single movement was filled with fear. The worst part wasn't the physical pain itself. It was what it stole from me. I stopped taking evening strolls with my wife. I stopped playing chase with my grandkids in the yard. I stopped tending to my small garden, something that always brought me so much peace. I even gave up my weekly coffee with my buddies because the simple act of getting out of the cafe chair left me feeling exhausted and embarrassed. I felt like my own body was trapping me in an invisible cage. And with every activity I gave up, a little bit of the light inside me went out. Sleeping became a challenge. No matter how I positioned my legs, there was always a spot that throbbed with pain. I'd wake up multiple times a night, frustrated and tired. Some mornings I would just sit on the edge of the bed for several minutes, not because I was sleepy, but because I was dreading the pain of that first step. But if there was one moment I will truly never forget, it was an afternoon when I was home alone. I was on the couch watching a ball game when I felt the urge to get up and get a glass of water from the kitchen. I planted my hands on the armrests, pushed with all my might, and nothing. My legs just wouldn't work. The pain was so sharp, so deep, that I had to fall back into the cushions. I tried again and then again. My arms trembled with the strain. A wave of anger and fear washed over me. I had to call my daughter, and when she arrived and saw me stuck on my own couch like an invalid, I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I burst into tears. I felt useless. And that was the hardest part of it all. Not the physical pain, but the feeling that I had lost my independence, that I had to rely on others for something as basic as standing up. That afternoon, it wasn't just my knees that ached, it was my dignity. After that day, everything felt different. I developed a fear of being alone, a fear of falling down, a fear of not being able to get back up. I started moving less, and the less I moved, the worse I felt. The pain wasn't just in my legs anymore. It was in my spirit, in my mind, and in my will to live. And just when I thought I had hit rock bottom, a new possibility appeared. But I'll tell you about that in a moment. Because before I talk about the solution, I want you to understand just how low I had gotten. Because if you're in that place right now, if you're living with that pain, that frustration, that quiet loneliness, I want you to know that you are not alone and that yes, there is a way forward. After that awful day on the couch, I decided I couldn't live like that anymore. I had to find a solution. I went on a mission. I joined online forums for seniors, I asked everyone I knew, I listened to any piece of advice, and I visited multiple doctors. I was desperate for a formula, a treatment, anything that would give me my mobility back. And believe me, I tried a lot of things. First came the miracle creams, the ones in fancy tubes that promise fast-acting relief and have advanced formulas. The first one I bought cost me more than a week's worth of groceries. I applied it twice a day exactly as the instructions said. At first, I felt a slight cooling sensation as if something was happening. But after 2 weeks, there was no real change. Just a faint minty smell and a much lighter wallet. Then came the painkillers. A doctor prescribed me some pills. They won't cure it, but they'll help you manage, he said. And he was right for a little while. I took them every 8 hours, and for a few days, the pain did seem to lessen. But I also started feeling dizzy, a bit nauseous, and constantly drowsy. And the worst part was that I soon needed a higher dose to get the same level of relief. It was like my body was getting used to them and just kept asking for more. I knew right then I couldn't depend on those. Next up was physical therapy. My daughter really encouraged me to go, so I went in with high hopes. The therapist was a nice young man, very professional. He had me do exercises, stretches, sometimes he used a heat pack, other times gentle electric pulses. I went twice a week and I really pushed myself. But after nearly 3 months, the results were tiny. I had improved a little bit, yes, but if I missed a session or overdid it slightly, the pain came roaring back. On top of that, it was a constant drain on my fixed income. I also gave supplements a try. A man from my old bowling league told me about some capsules with collagen, magnesium, turmeric, and a dozen other things. They worked wonders for me, George, he said. So I bought a huge bottle that promised the world. I took them faithfully for over a month and I felt nothing. Absolutely zero. Just more disappointment. Finally, I tried all the classic heat and cold therapies, alternating warm compresses, hot baths, cold packs. Some days it seemed to offer a little relief, other days it made no difference at all. I was spending more time preparing these little remedies than I was enjoying any effects from them. It was all so exhausting, so frustrating, and in the end, it felt completely useless. After so many dead ends, I felt more worn out than when I started. I started to wonder if I was the problem, if there was just no hope for me, if I just had to accept that this is what getting old was all about. But in that moment of deep frustration, I realized something important. I realized that so many of these products aren't actually made to heal us. They're made to keep us buying. They don't want you to get completely better, because if you do, you stop being a customer. And if you stop being a customer, their business model falls apart. That was a hard truth to accept. And it was also the reason I decided to stop looking for answers on a store shelf and start looking towards nature, towards simplicity, towards the things our grandparents knew. And that's where I found the remedy that changed my life. But before I tell you what it was, let me explain how I found it. Because it wasn't just luck. It was an honest search driven by pure necessity and the exhaustion of being sold false hope. That day, standing there in my bathroom, I looked myself in the eye in the mirror and said, enough is enough. Several years had passed where I was just dragging this pain around with me. Years of trying treatments that didn't work, of spending money on solutions that promised everything and delivered nothing, of feeling weaker, more dependent, and further away from the man I used to be. And right there, in the quiet of a normal afternoon, I made a choice that changed everything. I looked down at my knees. They looked swollen and felt stiff, almost like they weren't my own. I took a deep breath, sat down carefully on the edge of the bathtub, and I thought, either I find a way to get better, or I give up for good. But a small spark inside me just refused to give up. Because even though I was 84, I wasn't ready to be finished. I still wanted to walk on my own 2 feet. I wanted to go outside without needing a cane. I wanted to feel like my body was mine again. And so, I decided to do something completely different. I decided to stop relying on what the drugstores were selling. I figured that if modern methods weren't helping my body, it was time to go back to the old ways. To the things our grandparents used, to the remedies that didn't come in shiny boxes but worked because they were in tune with the body. I started reading about natural remedies. I looked up herbs, spices, and old-fashioned poultices. I found interviews and read real stories from older folks who had recovered without needing surgery or powerful medications. But it was a simple, casual conversation that truly changed the direction of my search. It happened one morning while I was sweeping my front porch, leaning on the broom more for support than for sweeping. Betty, my neighbor from across the street, walked by. She's 79, but she walks with a straight back and a pep in her step like someone half her age. I'd always seen her as this strong, energetic woman, and I'll admit I was envious. She gave me her usual friendly greeting. "How are you today, George?" And I, with the kind of honesty that comes with age, just said, "I'm tired, Betty. I'm tired of fighting with these knees, of not being able to take a simple walk without pain." She looked at me with a kind expression. She walked a little closer, lowered her voice a bit, and said something I never expected. "Would you like me to tell you what saved my knees?" I nodded eagerly. At that point, any advice was welcome. Then she told me about a natural remedy that she makes right in her own kitchen. Not some product from a late-night TV ad. Not some fancy imported formula. It was something simple, ancient, but powerful. A mixture of natural ingredients her own parents used back in the day, long before there were pharmacies and physical therapists on every corner. 3 days, George, she said, looking me right in the eye. It took 3 days before I could walk without pain. And since then, I haven't needed a single pill or ointment. In that moment, something inside me woke up. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. With total confidence, with the clear-eyed sincerity of someone who isn't trying to sell you something, but is just sharing wisdom. That day, for the first time in years, I felt a surge of genuine hope. And I knew right then and there that I had to try it. But before I tell you exactly what that remedy was, let me explain how I prepared myself to receive it. Because it wasn't just about slathering something on my knees and that was it. I had to change the way I thought about my body and how I treated it. And that inner shift was just as important as the remedy itself. I remember the exact moment I held that little glass jar in my hands for the first time. It was a thick, golden brown mixture with a strong but pleasant smell. An earthy scent that reminded me of my own grandmother's kitchen remedies from when I was a boy. No flashy label, no promises written in big gold letters. Just a simple, homemade, natural formula. And according to Betty, a powerful one. I won't lie to you, a part of me was still skeptical. After years of trying everything under the sun, why would this be the thing that worked? But another, deeper part of me felt that this was different. This didn't come from a factory. It came from the earth. It wasn't designed in a lab. It was passed down through generations. So that night, I sat down in my quiet living room, warmed the mixture slightly as Betty had explained, and began to carefully apply it to my knees. The warmth was gentle and comforting, and as I massaged it in, I thought about all the times I had lost hope. All the nights I had spent tossing and turning from the pain. And even though I wasn't expecting a miracle, I felt something shift inside me. The first day, nothing dramatic happened. I didn't leap out of bed the next morning, cured. But there was something, a subtle lightness, a feeling that the usual deep-seated stiffness had softened, just a little. That was enough to give me a sliver of hope, to make me think that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something real. On the second day, I repeated the process. This time, I did it with more belief, more intention. I sat by the window, letting the morning sun stream in, and as I applied the remedy, I closed my eyes and focused on my breathing. It felt like it wasn't just my knee that was changing, but my entire relationship with my body. That afternoon, I walked down the steps of my back porch without gripping the railing so tightly. I could hardly believe it. Is this really working? I wondered, and I dared to walk a little further down the sidewalk than I usually did. Something inside of me was starting to stir, but it was on the morning of the third day that it happened. I got out of bed, as I always did, expecting that first painful step. But it didn't come. I walked slowly to the bathroom, and there were no sharp, stabbing pains. I looked down at my legs, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I sat down in my kitchen chair and stood back up, and I knew then that the pain was gone. Not completely, of course, not like it had never existed. But the crippling pain, the pain that stopped me from walking, the pain that made me dread every movement, that pain was gone. I looked at myself in the mirror that day and I saw not just an 85-year-old man, but someone who had gotten back something incredibly precious, the dignity of moving on his own terms. And no, it wasn't magic. It was something natural, something ancient, yet something so many of us have forgotten. It's something that isn't sold in drugstores or advertised on television. It's something that comes from listening to our bodies and to the earth. Something simple and for that very reason, powerful. I want you to know something very important. This remedy isn't a miracle cure-all. I'm not here to sell you empty promises or to guarantee that everyone will have the exact same experience I did. Every body is different and every person's story is unique. But what I can tell you with all my heart is that this made all the difference for me. And if you're listening to this with a sense of hope, if you've been searching for something to bring back your mobility, your energy, and your peace of mind, then maybe, just like for me, you'll rediscover that sometimes the answer isn't far away. It's not in a hospital, it's not in a box with a fancy label. Sometimes it's in a recipe shared between neighbors, in a handful of ingredients you can find at the store, in a mixture you make with your own hands, with patience and with faith. Now at last, after all I've told you, it's time to share the most important part. How to prepare this remedy step by step. Just like Betty taught me and just like I still use it today. I'll explain it slowly as if you were right here in my kitchen sitting at the table with me. First, let's talk about the ingredients. They are all natural and very easy to find. If you don't have them at home, you can find them at any grocery store or local market. 2 tablespoons of turmeric powder. This is a powerful natural anti-inflammatory. It's what gives the remedy its golden color and it helps reduce that internal swelling in your tissues. 1 teaspoon of grated or powdered ginger. This helps stimulate circulation, which brings warmth to the joints and relieves pain. 3 tablespoons of coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil. This acts as the base to form a paste and helps the active ingredients penetrate the skin. A pinch of ground black pepper. This is a crucial step. The pepper contains a compound that activates the powerful part of turmeric. Without it, your body can't absorb it nearly as well. Optional. A few drops of eucalyptus or rosemary essential oil. This isn't required, but if you have it, it adds an extra soothing effect and a very pleasant scent. Here is the preparation. It's incredibly simple. In a small bowl, I use a glass one. Place the turmeric, ginger, pepper, and the oil. Stir it all together with a wooden spoon until you have a smooth, even paste. It shouldn't be too runny or too thick. If it seems a little dry, just add a bit more oil drop by drop until it has the consistency of a thick cream. If you're using essential oils, add 5 to 10 drops now and mix it again. That's it. Now, how to apply it. I always do this at night, right before I go to sleep, when I know I won't be moving around much. Take a small amount of the mixture with your fingers and gently massage it onto both of your knees using circular motions. Take your time with this. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and really focus on the feeling of warmth that starts to build under your skin. Then, cover your knees with a clean piece of cotton cloth. A small, old towel works perfectly. And just stay like that for about 20 minutes. Sometimes, if I'm particularly tired, I'll lie down carefully and let it work while I read a book. After the time is up, just rinse the paste off with warm water and pat your skin dry. That's the whole process. There are no complications. It just takes consistency, care, and a little bit of time for yourself. Myself. I would have asked for help without feeling ashamed. Because looking for a solution isn't a sign of weakness. Weakness is giving up without even trying. I remember my old friend, Walter. He had this incredible energy, a real zest for life that I always admired. But when he started getting the same kind of knee pain that I had, he chose a different path. He told me, George, at our age, the fight is over. There's no point in trying anything new. And slowly but surely, he just faded. He stopped going out. He stopped walking. He stopped laughing. The last time I saw him, he was in a wheelchair. Not because of some irreversible illness, but because he gave up the fight. That image has stayed with me. I was so close to going down that same road. But something inside me finally said enough. And that's why I'm here today telling you my story. So that you don't get to that point. So that you don't resign yourself to a lesser life. So that you don't waste precious time like I did. I'm telling you this from my heart, pain is not normal. Getting older does not have to mean giving up on feeling good. You do not have to settle for what you're told. You do not have to accept a life with less energy, less freedom, and less joy. There is still so much left to do. And the sooner you start, the better you will feel. If I were 60, 70, or even 80 years old again today, I would start sooner. I would pay more attention to what I ate. I would move my body every single day, even just a little. And I would put less faith in the magic of the pharmacy and more faith in the wisdom of nature and my own body. And above all, I would talk about it. I wouldn't keep my physical or emotional pain locked away inside. So with all the affection in my heart, I am telling you, don't wait until you hit rock bottom. Don't wait until the pain brings your life to a complete halt. Listen to your body now. Take care of yourself today. Give your body the chance it deserves to recover. Today I walk without pain. And I don't say that with pride. I say it with gratitude. Because after so many years of fighting with my own body, so many sleepless nights, so many moments when I truly believed there was no solution, today I can say that my body responded. That there was still life and strength waiting inside of me. And if you are watching this video, maybe you are also looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you have been carrying around that silent pain that limits you, that frustrates you, and that makes you think it's too late. Let me tell you what I have learned from the bottom of my heart. It is never too late to get better. It is never too late to reclaim your life. You do not have to resign yourself to this. You do not have to accept something that will steal the best years you still have ahead of you. Because yes, there are still places to go, people to hug, and things to experience. And all of it is so much better when you can do it without pain. My story isn't one of a kind. There are thousands of seniors who are rediscovering their strength, their mobility, and their well-being simply because they made the choice to look for another way. And if this video can help even one person do that, then sharing my story was worth it. Now, I want to ask you for one small favor. If you know someone who is suffering from knee pain, please share this video with them. You could be the person who changes their life. After all, it was a neighbor who changed mine with a piece of simple advice and a natural remedy. And because of her, today I walk with freedom. And more than that, I walk with hope. And you can too. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you found this message to be useful, if it touched your heart, or if you learned something new, please leave me a comment. Tell me what part made you think, or if you feel ready to start making a change. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell so you don't miss the next videos. Because one thing I can promise you is that there are still many good things to come. And I want you to be there to experience them, step by step, and pain-free. See you soon. And in the meantime, keep on walking. I like to make just enough for 2 or 3 nights at a time, and I store it in a little glass jar with a lid in the refrigerator. Keeps well for about 5 days. A couple of precautions. If you have an allergy to any of the ingredients, please don't use it. Also, turmeric can stain fabric, so be sure to wear old clothes or place a towel you don't mind getting yellow under your legs. And if you have any open cuts or very sensitive skin on the area, it's best not to apply it directly. This does not replace a doctor's diagnosis. If you have a serious or persistent issue, you should always consult a professional. But as a natural support, this simple remedy can work wonders. I still use it once or twice a week, even though I don't have the pain I used to. It's a little ritual that reminds me that taking care of myself isn't just necessary. It's an act of self-love. Now that you know everything, I truly hope you'll give it a try. Do it with patience, with respect for your body, and with a little bit of faith. Because sometimes, the thing that heals us most isn't just the remedy itself, but the decision to believe that we can get better. The natural remedy was my first big step, but I have to be honest with you. No remedy, no matter how wonderful, can do all the work on its own. What truly made the lasting difference in my life was a daily commitment. It was the decision to change my habits, to care for my body every single day, and to do small things that, when added up, completely transformed my health. Once the pain started to ease, I said to myself, "George, this can't stop here. You have to maintain this. You want your life back for good." And that's exactly what I did. I'll tell you in detail because maybe these things will help you too. I started walking again. It wasn't easy at first. My first walks were just to the corner and back at a very slow pace. My grandson would walk with me, just in case I needed a steady arm. But little by little, I started to gain confidence. I walked through the local park, I said hello to my neighbors, I felt the fresh air on my face, and with every step, I felt more and more alive. There's no need to run a marathon or do complicated exercises. Just walk. Every day, a little bit more than the day before. My goal was simple, move my body daily, even if it was just for 10 minutes. I added gentle stretches to my morning routine. As soon as I woke up, I would stretch my arms and legs and rotate my ankles. At first, everything felt so stiff, but over time, my muscles started to respond. I found a simple video online for seniors with exercises like lifting your knees while seated, rotating your shoulders, and trying to touch your toes. That little bit of daily movement gave me back my flexibility and the confidence to keep going. I also changed my diet. It wasn't a strict diet and I didn't forbid myself from eating anything. But I started being more mindful of what I was putting in my body. I cut way back on processed foods, fried things, and sugar. I started to include more anti-inflammatory foods, things like turmeric and ginger in my cooking, as well as oily fish, dark leafy greens, berries, and nuts. One of my favorite snacks now is a bowl of plain yogurt with a sprinkle of turmeric, a dash of cinnamon, and some chia seeds. It's simple and it makes me feel good from the inside out. I started drinking more water. I used to forget all the time. Now, I keep a water bottle with me wherever I go. Water helps keep your joints lubricated and it flushes out toxins. It's far more important than we realize. I also started doing warm foot soaks at night. About once a week, I fill a small basin with hot water, add some Epsom salt and a few drops of eucalyptus oil. I soak my feet, close my eyes, and just relax. That little ritual helps me sleep better and releases all the tension that's built up during the day. And I kept up with the home massages. Using either the same natural remedy or just some warmed olive oil, I would gently massage my knees before bed. That physical contact, that act of self-care, has more power than we think. The key to all of this was consistency. It's not about doing a whole lot one day and then nothing for the rest of the week. It's about doing a little bit every single day. It's about building a foundation of well-being step by step with patience and with kindness towards yourself. Today I can say that I walk well, I sleep well, and I have energy. But it wasn't just because of one remedy. It was because I made a conscious decision to take care of myself, to make my own well-being a priority. And that's the message I really want to share with you. You don't have to do everything at once. But if you just take one step, if you adopt one small habit, tomorrow you'll be one step closer to getting your freedom back. Because true healing isn't just in what you apply to your body, but in how you choose to treat yourself. And I chose to treat myself with respect, commitment, and love. Sometimes I feel so fortunate, but I also feel a little bit sad. Because I know that so many people my age are still living with pain that they might not have to. They still believe that pain is just a part of aging, that it's inevitable, and that there's nothing that can be done about it. And I don't blame them. For years, I believed the exact same thing. The truth is, there are so many seniors out there, people like you, like me, like our neighbors, who could be walking better, living without constant discomfort, climbing stairs, and enjoying a walk in the park if only they knew what I learned so late in life. But our system doesn't always help. Today's healthcare system is often designed to give you medication, not to restore your health from the ground up. They give you a pill for the pain, a pill to help you sleep, a pill for your cholesterol, a pill for your circulation. Before you know it, you have more pill bottles on your nightstand than you have solutions. And the problem is that modern medicine often just treats the symptoms, not the underlying cause. It can quiet the pain for a few hours, but the root problem is still there. When you go back to the doctor, they might just say, well, that's normal for your age. You'll have to get used to it. But that's not living. That's just enduring. And what's worse is that many of the real, simple solutions are never even mentioned. Why? Because they aren't sold in a pharmacy. They aren't part of the standard protocol. Nobody makes a big profit when you drink ginger tea, or give yourself a massage, or just go for a daily walk. Natural medicine isn't trendy, but it often works. And so often, the things that can truly help us are right within our reach. It's just that nobody teaches us to look there. We've been taught to put more faith in a pill bottle than in our own body's ability to heal. And over time, that can dim our hope. There's also fear. The fear of change. The fear of trying something new. After so many years of doing things one way, it's hard to believe that something as simple as a mixture from your kitchen could do more than decades of medication. There's a distrust of things that are natural, of things that don't have a fancy label. But I've learned that simple doesn't mean ineffective. In fact, sometimes the simplest path is the wisest one. And there's an even deeper problem: many people have just lost hope. They've resigned themselves to the idea that life from this point on is just going to be about pain, limitations, and depending on others. But I am sitting here today to tell you that is not true. It is not too late to get better. It is not too late to start taking care of yourself in a different way. I did it at 84. And now at 85, I am walking strong, I am pain-free, and I have a smile that comes from deep in my soul. All you need is the willingness to try something new, to open your mind, and to believe that your body still has the capacity to heal if you give it the right tools. If you are watching this video, I don't think it's a coincidence. Maybe this is the sign you've been waiting for, the sign to stop resigning yourself to pain and to start truly searching for a better way. I can't promise you magic or instant results, but I can promise you that it is possible to feel better. And if I could do it, you can too. All I ask is that you don't give up. Don't accept living with pain as your fate. Because getting older doesn't have to mean surrendering. It should mean caring for yourself more, listening to your body more, and above all, allowing yourself the chance to live with dignity and joy. If I could turn back the clock, there are a lot of things I would do differently. But if I had to pick just one thing, it would be this: I would have asked for help sooner. I wouldn't have waited so long. I wouldn't have hidden my pain from my family. I wouldn't have pretended that everything was okay when my body was screaming for attention and care. For years, I told myself that it was normal. That knee pain was just part of getting old. I repeated that to myself like a mantra. As long as I could still get around, even if I was shuffling, it was fine. But it wasn't fine. Every single day that I ignored the pain was a day that I lost a piece of my quality of life. And it breaks my heart that this happens to so many people. We get used to the discomfort. We normalize the aches we feel when we get out of bed, the jolts of pain when we climb stairs, the fear of tripping when we're walking down the street. We just resign ourselves to it, not realizing that that very resignation is what's stealing our life away from us. Looking back, I see now that I didn't have to suffer for so long. I would have listened to my body more. I would have been kinder to myself.